Welcome to In Conversation with MANWAR podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Do Not Be a Bystander campaign. You can join us in raising awareness about bullying by visiting donotbeabystander.com, and be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay informed about upcoming episodes. Today's participants are Adian, Sufyan, and Kian. Our special guest of today's episode is Trevor Fairweather.
Your host, MANWAR Khan. Today I'm joined by three young individuals who are ready to share their thoughts and insights on the topic of bullying. They all have the same goal: eliminating bullying from school and communities. These young individuals are passionate about addressing the issue of bullying and willing to empower others. Today's participants are Sufyan, Kian, and Adian. Before we continue, um, I would like to introduce our special guest for today's podcast, and that's Trevor Fairweather. So I would like to say a little bit about Trevor Fairweather. So Trevor, a program director with extensive experience in managing complex software and hardware projects, skilled in building relationships, leading teams to achieve success while keeping focus on budget, schedule, and quality objectives. A results oriented individual who possesses strong public policy abilities through effective communication, team collaboration, and management of resources. So that's Trevor. Um, Thank you, Trevor. I know how busy you are. Um, your personal
You're
life,
welcome.
and thank you for having here today in such short notice. I really appreciate that. So now that we have introduced all our participants and special guest, we will start with our questions. So my first question is for Adian. So Adian, can you tell me, my topic we will be talking right now is the empathy. Okay. Can you tell me how can empathy help in a bullying situation? Can you give us an example?
Yeah. Hello, and thank you for having me here. So, empathy means that you have the ability to understand what someone is going through, and you can share the feelings. Empathy helps in a bullying situation because it helps them know that they are not alone and you are there for them. There are many ways empathy can help in a bullying situation. For example, showing empathy to the victims of bullying. Doing this comforts them, and makes it like they have more friends. Also, being a friend of the victim of bullying can sometimes prevent a bullying situation from happening because then the bully would be scared to confront the person.
All right. Thank you, Adian. So it is by so what you just said, that encouraging empathy, and we can work towards creating a safer environment for everyone, where we can reject bullying, we can support the well-being of others, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So next question is about compassion. Compassion involves having a genuine concern for the well-being and happiness of others. So my question for you is, what does it mean to be compassionate, and how can you encourage others to be more compassionate towards people who are being bullied?
So, being compassionate pretty much just means that you feel deeply for another person as they experience bad stuff and good stuff. You could encourage others to be more compassionate towards other people who are being bullied by telling them what compassion means and maybe giving them an example of what would happen if their friends were being bullied. This gives them a good understanding of compassion and why they should be compassionate towards other people who have or are being bullied. Another way could just be extending kindness and compassion and talking about who has suffered from bullying and telling them that showing compassion helps by giving them the feeling that they are not alone.
Thank you for your answer. So being compassionate is a fundamental aspect of building meaningful connections, fostering understanding, and promoting a well-being for others. It definitely helps to create a more inclusive environment for everyone. Thank you for your answer, Adian. So my next question is for Sufyan, and we will be talking about respect, the term here. All these terms are related to bullying. So in this episode, we are talking about these other items, not only focus on bullying, but it is related. All these are related to bullying. So promoting respect and empathy in school and communities is essential for preventing bullying. So Sufyan, my question for you is: how can we promote respect and empathy in school and communities?
So imagine there's people who get bullied every day, every year, and so they might share their experience with you because you're their trusted friend. So respect them, apologize to them if just to make them feel better. Um, Make them your friend if they aren't already, and like don't be a bystander, don't be like the person who watches the bullying. Like if it goes with really like too far, tell a trusted adult or guardian if you're comfortable with that. Or if you feel safe, like tell the bully to also stop. And eventually, if everyone works together, we can put an end to bullying. And if you feel comfortable and you know all of this stuff, talk to the bully because you might know some like things that have happened at home because of the bullying. That's probably the main reason why people bully. So like talk to them always, like talk to them, make them feel comfortable. And so like uh always talk to a trusted adult or like to your friends too if you want to help them. Friends will always help because if they don't help you during bullying, then they're fake friends. Don't trust them. Don't be friends with them anymore. But if they are your friends, trust them. They will always help you from bullying and other really mean stuff. And if you're getting bullied as a teacher and you're doing like really unexceptional things, like hurting someone or like joining the people who bully, you can go to a therapist to think about your emotions, or like go to your friends, share a little bit, and then your friends will help you. Or like if it goes like really far, you can file a lawsuit and like go to court.
Yeah, that exactly. I mean, that comes that tells what you just mentioned, Sufyan. It is. I agree with you, and this empathy thing should be ongoing, right? And it requires continuous effort and reinforcement. It's not just today you are good and next day you are bad. If somebody is bullying you, you when I say fight back or take a stand, does not mean you are bullying them back, right? You are start with empathy. You start with defending yourself. You start with telling them that what you are saying it is not okay. If that doesn't work, definitely, I totally agree with you. The first thing is would be you go and talk to your trusted someone you trust, an adult, talk to your parents or your teacher or somebody. If all those steps doesn't work, then yes, your parents and your teachers will decide whether it would be going to the law enforcement agencies or not.
All right,
So
yeah.
but excellent answer, Sufyan. Thank you so much. So my next question for I have one more question for you, Sufyan. Respect is about treating others with kindness, fairness, and consideration. Can you tell me how can you show respect towards your friends and teachers? And how does showing respect help prevent bullying?
So if imagine like okay, so showing respect like helps bullying because like you can make friends. Making friends with bullying can stop bullying. And if the bullies are friends with you, then it could be a good thing because they could share your experience. You can show the respect to the teacher. You can show the respect to your friends. You'll be even more together and like kind to each other, even more friends. So you don't like fall apart and not have any more friendship anymore. And continuing with that, bullying can be helped if you are friends with like the bully. Being friends with the bully is probably the main part. So all you want to do is just to be kind to the bully. Make sure not to bully with them though, because that is a bad thing. You have to stop. Um, if it comes to that kind of point, you can tell your teacher or a trusted adult, and if you feel safe to do so, just tell them to stop. This is not safe. And if this is happening, then making friends with the bully can also prevent bullying too if you want them to really, really, really stop. Because bullying can be a serious problem. It can cause like mental issues and physical issues. It happens all around the world, and you have like if you want to make friends with the bullying, you're helping the class, you're helping your school about this situation. So always like show respect to the bullies, to make friends, to teachers, and to um friends to keep your trust to.
Exactly. Excellent. Thank you. Great answer. Sufyan, I agree with you. When you mentioned, I want to share, I did share it in one of my previous episode. I want to share it here again with this group. Um, when I was kid, I was never being bullied. I was never being bullied. Nobody bullied me. Uh, but lots of my friends were bullied, actually. So I used to say at lunchtime they are bullying someone else or somebody, other kids sitting at the corner. They would be bullying them. Uh, Again, you have to remember it's a tricky situation for me because the person who are bullying, they are my friends, and the person who is being bullied is not my friend at all. So I barely know them. So, but how can I stop it? The easiest
Being
way,
friends.
exactly. The easiest way for me was all I did is just went and tried to become friend of those people. As soon as I became their friend, they all are part of our team, same group. So bullying stopped automatically. My friends cannot bully that guy anymore because that's Manwar's friend, right? So we are friends. So this is the thing. Sometimes bullied the victim feels alone, isolated, frustrated. If all they need is be there for them. If you can be there for them and tell them that I'm here for you, I'm your friend, I will be there for you if you need any help, that actually means a lot to them, right? So no, thank you so much, Sufyan, for your answer. So next question I have is for Kian. So how are you doing, Kian?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I did not introduce any of the participants. Sufyan lives in Calgary. Adian lives in Edmonton. Kian lives in Calgary. But for Kian, when I see Kian, I must say one thing that he has extreme interest in cars. Just want to share that. Just, I don't know. It's nothing to do with bullying. I just wanted to share that. I have seen, he knows all the models about cars, Mercedes, all the models, which model is good, and he can even compare which one is not good, which one is good. Anyway, that's nothing to do with bullying, but I just wanted to share that. Anyway, so Kian, my question to you is regarding kindness. So, kindness is a quality of being friendly, generous, considerate towards others, like Sufyan said. It involves showing acts of goodwill, empathy, and care without expecting anything in return, right? So, my question for you is why it is important to be kind to other person. So, when a person is unkind, for example, to another person, what do you think that other person would feel if somebody is unkind to someone? Go ahead, Ken.
It is important to be kind to others because it helps make others feel happy. Being kind to others also boosts their confidence in their life and also will encourage them to show kindness to others. If someone is being unkind to another person, then it would most likely make the victim weak and they would feel that. It could also affect the person's life because it could make the other person think the unkind words are true and eventually make the victim depressed in their life.
Yeah, great answer. Excellent. So it is important to remember that everyone responds differently to unkindness, right? Because some people are very emotional, so and it can have a very negative impact if you are unkind to someone, right? And they can feel bad, they can feel sad, they can be frustrated, they can even go under depression. So this is very important for us to practice kindness, empathy, generous, and be considerate. Thank you so much for your answer, Kian. So last question for you is, um, what can you do if you see someone is being mean to another person? What you can do?
If someone is being rude to another person, I would go up to the person that is trying to hurt someone and tell them to stop hurting them. If the bully says no, I will try to encourage him to stop being rude and talk to him and ask why he is doing this. Yet, if the bully still bullies, I would defend the victim, myself, and also inform an adult. If the bully tries to physically fight me, I would try to knock him out and then quickly inform an adult, etc.
All right. I would like to add something here, Kian. When I say that yes, someone is being mean, and what you are gonna do with in that situation, the first thing you also have to remember that if this situation is safe for you or not. If this is safe, then you try to intervene. If this is not safe, you cannot intervene. You cannot help at that time, but what you can do is you can get help for that person. You can go and try to mobilize people, call other friends, call teacher, talk to somebody, talk to some adults at school. But first thing is we have to make sure that you are in a safe position, right? This
Yes, I
is
agree.
that is actually very important, because if you are not safe, then what happens is bully can attack you at that time instead of the other victim, right? So the first thing, my advice would be, first make sure you safe. But then again, I like your approach. You say that you will defend, and it is so important to defending other. It tells a lot about you actually. It's not very easy task to do. Defending yourself is easy, but defending others, standing up for others, is not very easy. So if you can do it, I mean, then that's a big thing, and that will make a huge difference. Okay, so but always make sure that you are in a safe position before you help that person. And helping doesn't mean that you always have to physically get involved in that. You can also call 911, like Sufyan and Adian mentioned. Call 911, get help. Call somebody, talk to an adult, somebody, but just do not say that this is not my business. I'm gonna walk away. This is not, this is what I want. You do not be a bystander, right?
Yes.
And you know what bystander is. Bystander is what they do is they just watch and do nothing about it, right? This we don't want to be do that. We don't want to be a bystander. We either try to help or get help for that person. Excellent. Do you have anything else to add, Kian, to this?
No, I think that is good enough. And yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. With the completion of this questioning, we will now move on to our final segment of the podcast. Now, I would like to invite our special guest, Trevor, to share some thoughts on bullying and give some advice to our participants and viewers. Trevor, muted. Trevor, you might need to unmute.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. I greatly appreciate your opportunity to engage on this conversation because I know it's important for many people, because oftentimes when they see it, they freeze. And when they freeze, it's only because they've never encountered the situation or know what to do because they've never been shown the steps of what to do. I'll just sort of give a summary as the questions were approached to each table, that I saw other items that never triggered a thought, or potentially you have an opportunity to think about, because the more you have a chance to think about something or engage, you're prepared for that instance when you do see someone being bullied or yourself being bullied. So the first question was talking about empathy. Oftentimes in empathy, everything can be as simple as seeing somebody teasing, but how well do you know them teasing? Somebody would argue, is that actually bullying when you're teasing somebody? To the extreme of what Kenyon said was when there's a physical assault involved. And I would say when the word bullying starts transforming into assault is exactly what the recommendations that MANWAR was mentioning, is that are you putting yourself into harm? And that's always a divide. And oftentimes bullying doesn't go to that extreme. Most of the time it's on the emotional side. In a normal situation, when you're working with a team, like in a workplace, it's always good to address someone who's not speaking up for themselves sort of afterwards, because you don't want to escalate a situation. So if you have a chance to catch somebody afterwards and ask, so how did you feel about that situation? Because the loudest person in the room is not necessarily the person that's correct. Just because they take up all the airtime doesn't mean they're correct. Oftentimes, the people who have been suppressed don't have a chance to share their opinion. So it's good that, hence that empathy side, catch them later. Catch them on a side that is like, oh, what was really going on there? Understand what they're doing. That way you can sort of prompt them to share their emotions about the situation. Maybe it's an ongoing joke between them and somebody else. And it's like, oh no, that's okay. It was just an ongoing joke we've had between the two of us, and it's not as bad as what you thought it was. The caring part is sort of a natural fold to what I just said. That follow-up component to willingly demonstrate you're willing to listen, understand the circumstances, because understanding their point of view helps you determine whether there needs to be an intervention involved. Now, I won't disagree with a point that some people will make, that, oh, they're just going to say everything is fine. This is where the next level of the conversation can go, is reporting it to somebody what you witnessed and what you saw. Because obviously, if the person wasn't willing to stand up for themselves at that time, will they ever defend themselves? And you can actually bring it up to the authorities that are involved. Most of 8 hours of your day is in a classroom. So there's a good chance there'll be a person at school. In that school, there's not just the teachers. There's the counselors that are also in school, maybe a janitor, all hovering around the word, somebody that you trust. And even outside, when you have a chance, when you're at home, maybe you can bring up the circumstances to, for instance, a coach at a sporting team, a youth group that you're a part of, maybe at church, your temple, any of those organizations, to get some insight, especially if you bump into the person in other places. Now that gets into that caring part of understanding what the resources are around you. It is totally about trust, because people won't share their information about you if they don't trust you either. So you always have to approach it with that moment of kindness. And that was something we were talking about earlier. If you can approach the situation with kindness, it reduces stress on the person. Willing to listen reduces stress with an empathy voice, or not an authority voice. It's just that, what's wrong? Have that caring moment. It also shows an element of role modeling, that not all people are like what they just encountered. The next level is they get more comfortable with you when they're having that conversation, because even if you bring it up and you try to catch them on the side, it may be another 2 or 3, 4, 5 conversations later that they start sharing their real emotions about what's going on. It's not always what you see in the movies, that it goes from bullying to telling somebody to having a resolution in 10 minutes. Most of the time, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 week process. And that's one of the reasons why one of the techniques MANWAR shared with becoming friends with the person is that's how you start understanding what's really going on. The other component, which was how do you react at the moment in time if something starts escalating out of control? I highly recommend everybody take first aid, by the way, because one of the things that first aid does is they sort of teach you how to manage and assign tasks to a situation. So if there's a person or two around you who is also witnessing the same thing you are, assign one of them to go get help from a teacher, 911, a local authority, whatever it is. Assign somebody else who happens to have a camera to start documenting the situation. If it gets to an extreme, that evidence is always handy, because sometimes when you share stories about what is going on, people don't quite understand all the details. Sometimes they won't believe you. They'll be dismissive. Video is very important. And the last, if there's, and yourself, you could try to de-escalate the situation if it's safe. But having that coordination of somebody being there, sending somebody for help, but also documenting the situation through photos or video will help at the end of the day. Because I can think of an instance in which my own son was going to school and he witnessed a dumpster fire right beside a restaurant that was beside the store. Beside the school. He reported it to the first administrator he encountered. They didn't even listen to him. So just because something is serious and happening, sometimes people don't respond to it, or they're very dismissive to it because they don't want to get involved. So hopefully you're in a situation that you can do that coordination. If you're not in that situation of coordination, still try to record it, but also seek assistance at the same time. But that's also one of the things I encourage you to do for first aid training, is not only does it helpful in the sense of, yes, people have medical problems and you can help, but it also trains you how to identify a situation and you're not frozen like that first example I gave, that people just freeze because they don't know what to do. And there's a lot of commonalities between other stressful situations or I'm going to say stressful, is that you have to respond, but you just don't know what to do. But I did appreciate the answers around the kindness component, because you encounter that more common than everything else, is being able to follow up with the person, understand their story, being able to potentially even figure out how you can engage the bully afterwards as well. Because sometimes they don't even know what they were doing was bullying. Just because they come from a different culture, it may not be the same as what the culture is here. So you have to sort of identify where are they coming from these stories or from their situation. Again, are you in a safe situation? MANWAR gave a great example of he was friends on both sides of the scenario. So he was that bridging ground for the bullies versus the person that was being isolated. And oftentimes, like even within your class, new people to a classroom are often bullied faster than anybody else because they don't have any friends. It's people have a tendency to target new people just because they don't have any friends. So there's less of a chance of getting a defense back from them. Anything you want to add to that, Manwar?
No, you actually covered everything. No, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really. Do you have anything else, Trevor, to say?
Not right off, but I'd take any questions from the Kayan or Safan or Adan if they have a question.
Do you guys have any questions for Trevor? This should be the time.
I don't. I think. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I don't have any. Thank you.
All right, then. Excellent. So then, so I think Sufyan has a question.
So if it comes to a point where like no teacher would help you and no principal, and like your dad or mom isn't like home, like isn't close to you, or any trusted adult is with you, like you just got out of the bus, what are you going to do?
I'll do that triage I mentioned to you before. If you have somebody to coordinate to at least record, that's the reason I made that comment earlier. But if there's the ability to record the situation, so they know that you're just not making it up, because the issue can be addressed not immediately at the time, but you can address it later.
Yeah.
Because when you're trying to manage safety at the same time, and you're right, you may be just walking down the street and you're witnessing something that you say, okay, this is wrong. This is the advantage of recording it, so you can actually bring it to the correct people later. If it's at the school bus, you still have the bus driver as a potential source to go to. If you feel super uncomfortable being outside the bus, there's a chance you could just get back onto the bus if it's towards you. Or if it's somebody else that you're seeing is bullying, you could potentially escort them onto the bus, because that helps to de-escalate the situation, but also makes it look like that person also has friends, hence that isolated component I was making for it before. Because if they don't think they have friends, there's a chance that they'll just be continued to bully. But if you can pull the victim away from the situation and bringing them onto the bus or into a different place. Was there a second part of that question that I didn't address?
No, that's all fine.
Yep.
That was a great question, Sufyan. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. If not, then we have come to the end of this episode. I would like to thank our participant, Sufyan, Adian, and Kian. I really appreciate that. And I also want to thank today's guest, Trevor, for taking out your time from your busy schedule and to join here at our podcast to talk with these children. That means a lot to us, actually. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Before we wrap up, I would like to remind our listeners that there are several resources available to help individuals dealing with bullying. The Government of Alberta has Bullying Helpline, which provides support and advice to those experiencing bullying. The helpline can be reached at 1-888-456-2323. Bullying is a violation of human rights. Under no circumstances is bullying acceptable. Thank you for joining in conversation with Manwar Khan. We will see you next week.